meeting of the Water Quality Management Committee will come to order. First item on the agenda is the vote, a discussion and vote to accept the SMS report providing the data set on historical data for Green Pond, Great Pond, and Oyster Pond. The long-awaited historical data. The committee's received it.
Somewhat.
Jerry?
Hey, Jerry.
Committee's received it. Anybody want to have any comment or discussion?
Seems completely appropriate. The analysis was clear. The data's all there. So it seemed.
Anyone from Oyster Pond who'd like to share it, we'd be happy to share it with you.
Well,
if you haven't already.
Wendy did receive an advance copy.
Okay, good.
To review it. And we just want to say thanks so very much for the committee for being able to obtain that after 12 years of trying to get the volunteer information.
Well, we are aware it took some persistence on your part and ours. But it was. Any other discussion on that? Okay. A motion will be in order.
Move to accept it.
Second.
Moved and seconded to accept the SMS report data set on historical data for Green Pond, Great Pond, and Oyster Pond. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Okay.
So you can, invoice is good to go now.
Fair enough.
They just accepted it, so.
Okay, one absent, no, we started right on time.
We'll decide that in a minute.
We always start on time.
Yeah, okay, that's good.
With the committee's indulgence, since we have several people here from Oyster Pond, I thought we'd move the item 4 out of order and take it up now. The premise of putting it on the agenda was sort of to provide a little bit of a progress report since it's been off our radar screen for a while. We were waiting for a number of things. I mean, as everybody can recall, there were 3 possible building blocks, as it were, of whatever is going to happen in Oyster Pond. One of them was some kind of sewer connection. One of them was some kind of a on-site
Local plant.
local plant, sort of mini sewer plant that would serve that area, and one would be individual homeowner innovative alternative systems. So we have sort of small bits of new, not necessarily new, but newer information on all 3 of those, and that was the point of putting it on the agenda here. We're still not in a position to tell the consultant to roll ahead, but we're getting there. As far as sewer goes, the question that we kind of stopped at was the plant, the current plant itself, and how much volume it could take or was taking now. The question of how much it was taking now was one of the things that was going to be answered by a new flow meter that I believe is now in place.
It's in place, and it appears that it's going to, we're getting more and more comfortable. The flow is around 400,000 rather than closer to the 450. But, you know, you could take 1 or 2 months and speculate, but, you know, I think we had to get it calibrated, and I don't know why it took so long to get it calibrated, but it's not unusual. I checked with some other consultants. It was 4 to 5 months to get it calibrated because we had 2 flow meters. One number we liked, the other number we didn't like. We said, you know, let's get these numbers working together.
Yeah.
So though it looks like there is some added capacity, whether that's available for use by others or how it's going to be used, but that answers the first question. We're not over 450, which would have been the death toll.
Right. Okay. But we've been waiting for that, and the town spent a good deal of money to find that out. So it doesn't answer the question of whether you would do a sewer there, but it answers the question of whether capacity-wise maybe you could. So, on the question of the on-site systems, we'll actually have a little presentation by SIA on that, because there's a cutting-edge experiment being conducted as we speak in West Falmouth by this committee and the Coalition for Buzzards Bay that will tell us a lot more than we know now about the efficacy of these systems, the cost of these systems, and and the other aspects of these systems.
Mr. Chair,
Sure.
before you leave the plant, Blacksmith Shop Road plant capacity discussion, there is also one small point that there's work, I believe, being done on the Woods Hole sewers, which
Oh, yes.
may or may not
The II.
reduce infiltration.
Yeah, we're going
And that
out.
would give you,
Some,
might or might not give you additional capacity.
it gives us added flow, and we can debate whether it's nitrogen or not, but it will give us added, it will take away flow. Yeah, we're hoping up to 30,000 gallons a day at least.
This is infiltrating?
Yes, yes.
So it's liable to be seawater or?
It's liable to be anything that comes in the seawater and things like that, but, it was, if you look at flow numbers, our flow numbers could go down lower. Whether we could measure an increase in concentration, I don't know, but,
Has that gone out for contract yet,
but
Jack?
I think.
It was in the paper on Friday.
Oh, okay, so.
I saw the,
So it's on the street.
it's on the street.
On the street.
Okay.
So when is the work expected to be done?
They won't start till after September. I'd say, I don't know, I'd get back to you. 6 months to a year, I don't think it's,
6 months to a year to finish?
yeah. I always say 6 months to a year. Well, no, I mean, it's grouting.
It's either now or never.
It's not that it's overly complicated, it's, we get into certain manholes, we get into certain pipes, it's piecemeal, and we want to get it over. We want to do it when it's not a busy season in Woods Hole.
Right.
So the threshold question of whether there is additional capacity available is that there might be, which is a better answer than we had before.
Yeah, well, I think it looks promising.
Yeah, yeah. On the II systems, you might want to hang around for the presentation that she is going to make on that, because I know that you have advocates in that neighborhood who think II systems are, IA systems are the way to go. And we know more than we did, and we're going to know more than we do very soon on that topic. So, anything else we can tell them about Oyster Pond?
One of the things, it's going to come up on the IA systems, if not the new special legislation, article that some people, is if the town goes to, or when the town goes, because some places are going to need IA systems, the question's going to come up, who owns and operates them as a management system? Is it going to go to the individual homeowners, or is the town going to do it? How's the town going to do it? So that's a mini study that we could or could not entail. Oyster Pond's as good a place, but it's small enough that, you're not worrying about saying, well, public health or wastewater department's taking over every septic tank in town. It's a management option that you always talked about. I think you call it septic districts. Because we don't have the authority now to order someone to upgrade their septic tanks, believe it or not. Nitrogen failure, it would have to be a local bylaw that gives the Board of Health the authority to,
But those are two very separate issues. The authority to
Right.
declare a region a nitrogen-sensitive area is one piece. Who then manages them?
yes, you're right.
Is another piece entirely separate.
The two other,
Sure.
I think in this table 5.8 in the February report that has been published, there was a plan too, collaborating with the Hui facility, and that's been pretty much ruled out because Hui is not interested.
Fair enough.
Okay.
That's good to know.
The other thing that Sia will probably touch on is the fact that the monitoring costs for individual INA systems might be lower than Wright Pierce predicted, because the quarterly monitoring might only be the first 2 years, which is a negligible part of 20 years. And so the other 18 years would only be annual. So that could effectively reduce the monitoring cost by a factor of 4, which is substantial.
But you have to take into account what we're doing in West Falmouth is not an impaired waterway. For Oyster Pond, we're now talking about a monitoring system that's gonna be required to make sure water quality is met. So maybe quarterly would be good enough. I know we had discussions, maybe you do statistical sampling. So I think the whole monitoring question to comply with water quality on the CWMP is still a jump ball as far as, it'll be probably at least monthly inspections. Maybe not that, Board of Health is going to weigh in heavily on that.
Well, I'm just saying, it's another unknown that we have to watch and discuss with DEP and the engineer and so on.
I think we have to push forward on what we think reasonable might be. Maybe quarterly is reasonable. I haven't heard anybody in DEP accept that yet. Because it hasn't been in front of them. A lot of times when something's in front of them, real numbers, they may have an aha moment.
Quarterly is what we hold them to now.
But-
We don't monitor more than quarterly.
More than,
And what George
And
is,
that's what DEP holds them.
right, and George Hoyfelder at Barnstable County Department of Health and Environment has said that if a system is operating reliably at the same level quarterly, homeowners can come and ask the boards of health and often get relief and either do it annually or twice a year. So that's kind of a standard operating procedure right now for IA systems that are actually required for nitrogen reduction
But
in,
not for TMDL compliant. It's a political
Yep.
issue that I have a lot of respect for George, but when I've had discussions with DEP, they said just wait and see.
right?
It may be something DEP may foist upon the Board of Health. Probably not, but they could say, if we approve this INA system, you will do this, this, and this.
But, actually what DEP is interested in is whether the water body continues to meet the requirements. So they're going to be monitoring the water body. If it's fine, then the quarterly.
That's a good point,
They're not
actually.
going to worry about the individual IA systems.
Well, if it takes 5 years, 2 years for it to get there, they can't wait till it gets there. I mean, I think we're having a discussion that's
Yeah.
interesting, but we should wait till we have like a mini report recommendations
Yep.
and let the county and DEP, there's nothing like real numbers to get.
I didn't intend that we'd
Yeah.
resolve it here.
Yeah,
No, no, no.
I
That's
thought it
not
was
today's issue.
something to keep in the back of people's
All right.
mind.
All right. Anything you want to tell us, since you've come this far?
Yes, we can
Could
tell
you,
you.
could you maybe speak to the microphone so the rest of
Oh.
the nationwide TV audience can hear you?
Bill, whether it's on.
You're fine.
Bill Kerfoot, Vice President of Oyster Pond Environmental Trust. And I'm here because Wendy Bisler is finally on vacation, which she's well earned at the present time. All I can tell you is that we very much appreciated the grant for $500,000 from the state toward the purchase of the land. And I can tell you the purchase of the land is a fait accompli. So you, from your purposes of consideration in your planning areas, that it will be finalized certainly by the start of October.
Can you identify that for the minutes, the land, when you're talking about the ransom?
This is 22 acres, which is been placed up for sale under agreement with Oyster Pond Environmental Trust. And it lies between Spore Gardens and the 7.5 acres of Zinn Park, held by Oyster Pond Environmental Trust.
It's in the February 2014 report in table 4.5 as map key C. If anybody really
For the
wants to
minutes.
be.
So from your standpoint of loadings in
Right.
mass situations, you can feel comfortable in going forward with the assumption that that will be put into conservation.
And that is very good news. There's 22 acres that will not be built on and will not have septic tanks and will not have nitrogen loading to contribute to the pond. So everybody's very happy about that.
Credit almost already.
Yeah, that's great. Two gentlemen are with you. Would you like to offer anything? Okay, thank you. Since you are here and since Sia has this report on the West Falmouth situation that is relevant to your interest. With the consent of the
Yeah.
body here, when do we roll into
Roll into that.
the update on the West Falmouth Harbor shoreline septic remediation workshop with vendors?
Yes, Monday, August 10th. We have been working through vendor criteria decision tool that has allowed the homeowners in the West Falmouth Harbor area to evaluate all of 15 vendors that submitted information to us for the purposes of this West Falmouth Harbor project, substantiating their claims that they can achieve 12 milligrams per liter nitrogen effluent at minimum, and giving us cost information.
These are independent denitrifying.
These are
systems.
single innovative alternative septic systems. And so we cast a wide net, got feedback from 15 vendors, answering a pre-vetted questionnaire that the working group put together. Found that there were these 15 vendors, got the cost information, got 20-year present worth, so O&M information, looked at energy costs, looked at footprint, looked at complexity. As an analog to complexity, we looked at the number of pumps that were required to run the system. And then from going to about 20 homeowners in the West Falmouth Harbor area, using a decision support tool to help them decide which were the top, 5, 7 of these vendors, came up with 5 vendors that consistently made it into the top 5. So with criteria aesthetics, simplicity, low noise, cost, and aesthetics. I think I already said those, but those were the main. People wanted to care about how they look, how they install, care about where the vent pipes are, care about if you have to have a pump, how far that pump can be from your backyard. You don't want to see it when you walk in your house either. So those kinds of considerations, as well as cost, and not just first cost, but the 20-year O&M cost, present worth. Had these vendors come to Falmouth to a particular homeowner's site and give presentations on how their system would be installed at a house on the West Falmouth Harbor shoreline. And that house was chosen by myself and the Buzzards Bay Coalition as kind of an analog for many of the homes that are considering this kind of an installation. We do have about 20 homeowners who are interested in participating. And we are now working with engineers to develop the actual plans that'll go before the Board of Health. And of these 5 vendors, different homeowners came to this meeting and liked one or another for their own reasons. We're not in the business of telling the homeowners which system to buy, but we are in the business of getting accurate information that's not sales information, but is actually factual information to the homeowners so they can make a rational decision. And so that's going on, and it was a very well-attended meeting. It went on for 4 hours, and a number of committee members were there, which was terrific that the educational process is going forward. And I think the net result is that we're finding that these can be, that the equipment costs and installation costs are actually in the $20,000 range. I mean, that's what we're seeing. But the devil is going to be in the details. We want these systems installed so we actually have invoices and not estimates. And that always makes a big difference. And then we're going to monitor for a year as part of the grant. And then the homeowners will take on this quarterly monitoring that hopefully will be able to become annual monitoring once the efficacy and the consistency of the effluent numbers is shown. One of the big issues in West Falmouth, and it's a huge issue actually in West Falmouth that may not be as prevalent in the Oyster Pond watershed, is seasonality. Most of the homes that we're talking to are there for 8 weeks. They are heavily used for 8 weeks out of the year, 8, 10, 12, lots of people. But they're not used particularly. Many of them are not winterized. So that is one operational consideration that we're really going to learn a lot about. How do these systems work seasonally, and how do you seed them or prime them at the beginning? You open up your house. Well, maybe you have to do something particular to open up your septic system to get it to start working as soon as the nitrogen starts coming. So that's my sort of quick summary, and I know committee members were there, so they may have things to add.
Yeah, those of us, well, I thought it was very interesting because every vendor came prepared to answer tough questions. They weren't making their sales pitch at that point. They were answering, how's it going to work in my lot? You know, how do I start it up in the spring? Do I have, somebody has to go to the plant and bring back some
Seed.
bacteria?
Prime the system.
These are not tasks that the average homeowner has thought about, but we were thinking about them at this session. Virginia was there, Steve was there.
Yeah.
It was very good.
Steve was asking good questions.
Yeah, none of them can guarantee their output. And I tried to pin them down by saying, how do you write a warranty to, on the one hand, protect yourself against the proverbial customer from the warm place, and at the same time assure the customer that they're not dealing with the contractor from the same warm place. And they avoided that question, and it's because it's a relatively new field, and we hope to learn from the demo how that all works.
Yeah, and that was at 12 they were waffling, right?
At 12.
Yeah, and, where, some systems may have to go down below, maybe not for Oyster Pond,
Yeah.
but, at 12 they were waffling. We thought that was a gimme, I thought, at one time.
One vendor did guarantee.
Yes.
One vendor was absolutely, and it was the Nitrex system,
Okay,
said that
good.
he would guarantee 12 or better.
Good.
That was Pio. I don't know if he made it.
I'd like to see it in writing.
He's put it in writing before.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think
Because
part
he
of
still
it,
has to protect himself against the idiot that pours darkroom chemicals down there,
Well,
or whatever.
True.
No, sorry, I was otherwise occupied, so I couldn't attend, but I have been in touch with George Hoyfelder about this denitrification, household scale things, and he's doing that study of putting a layer of wood chips
His
on
layer
the
cake.
the leach field, and he says he's got promising results. And I think the critical thing, I'd asked him some questions before, in the note I sent him, but the critical thing was that he's using just 18 inches between the leaching field and the wood chips for nitrification before it denitrifies. And it seems that that may need to be optimized, but you couldn't have a simpler system than just digging up a leach field and putting wood chips under it, and then maybe it'll just trickle down and denitrify as it goes through. But that's what his findings are showing. I think that his report is forthcoming.
Yes.
But he said it's promising. That's all I can say at this point.
and he's
But
on our working group, and we've
Yeah.
looked at his layer
He
cake.
was there.
And he was there, actually. So what we're hoping with the grant is to look at vendor, piloting approval, systems that have got technical approval. And George is still very much in the experimental phase. And so if we were able to include his in one of these or two of these installations, that would be something we'd like to try to do. If we can get, the permitting pathway, because these are official systems that are going in. So it is very promising. You're absolutely right, Ron. It's kind of fun,
couldn't
yeah.
be simpler than that.
Couldn't be simpler, right?
If it
Sir.
works.
Would you mind going to the microphone just so we could,
For
So you'd be
posterity.
recorded.
so the television people?
Again, I'm Dick Hale, and I'm here sort of in two guises. One, I'm a new member of the OPET board, although I've been tangentially involved with the organization, being a resident on the pond. And I'm also an owner at Treetops, and so this topic of the INA approaches, I think is intriguing, but I'm not sure it's applicable for the 62 owners at Treetops, and maybe it is, but just what I've read,
Right.
it seems like it would be a difficult application in, a condominium type structure that, as you mentioned, is occupied, some of the units, for less than 8 weeks out of the year. There, I believe, are 11 or 12 units that are occupied for most of the year, and then a handful that are occupied year-round. So that's sort of a comment and a question. Is this something, I think most people at Treetops are assuming septic or sewering, but not an individual homeowner solution. is
From what we-
possible.
From what we saw in West Falmouth, they can do groups. Some of these providers can deal with, well, a number of them do deal with commercial applications or with multiple individual units combined. So yeah, I don't think you'd be precluded.
The way Treetops is set up is that it is clusters of homes on standard
Pairs.
Title V.
Pairs.
Is it
Pairs.
just pairs?
There are 62 units and there are 31 septic systems.
Pairs, okay.
But there's no reason that they can't be clustered. And in fact, we now stipulate in Falmouth that if a development has 5 or more lots, they will put in a cluster system serving those systems, and they have to meet 12 milligrams per liter.
I think
And
so.
the seasonal, the mix of seasonal and year-round, I'm not an expert in this, would seem to me to be a good thing, because the few people there year-round are keeping it prime.
Well, I'd have to point out that I believe, and I don't know, Don, if you know, but I think that a majority of the buildings are not occupied, so I would assume that some set of the systems would have to be dealt with in this seasonal approach, assuming there's some way to do it. But I mean, I don't
I
need
meant
to
if
get,
you
I don't
had
need to
one
get fully
cluster.
educated here from you folks, but I don't think it's really something that's been thought about among the Treetops community. Obviously, it's being considered, but.
But if the $20,000 figure turned out to be true, and you had 31 septic systems that you would add a $20,000 unit to, the cost for doing the whole place is $600,000. That's pretty good.
It's very good.
So,
Because
And the
there's
other
4 of
thing
them to it.
And I wanted to add that there were 2 homeowners actually at the workshop that we held who had adjacent properties right currently on 2 separate systems, and we're looking to combine those into one innovative alternative system that will service both of those adjacent properties. So it's completely part of the technology. It's absolutely doable.
The INA systems that seem to perform the best are the ones that are more than a single-family home, if I remember the statistics correctly. That when you have clusters, so maybe you'll put 2 or 3 buildings together just to make sure you whatever vendors you talk to or think about, it may be easier, but the higher the flow, the better for the INA systems.
any other comments or questions? We're feeling our way on this, but we're making some progress, and I think we're going to know a lot more in a year that'll help you.
And that would be a very interesting political question. If the town could save X amount of money, should they or should they not provide financial aid to take over Treetops? I mean, it's, take over it's the same as the people, what I'm saying? For the individual, it's a loaded question. On one hand, you're saying we're saving the town some money, and why should a homeowner or a condominium association take the blunt of it? And I don't know the answer, and good luck in town meeting floor.
We won't address that today.
No,
Virginia.
but just fast forwarding, and this is partly to Bill, but also to the residents. This is a Comprehensive Wastewater Management Plan, so it ultimately becomes a plan that is forwarded to the state for approval. And I am wondering, and I'm not looking for an answer now, but all of you within the Oyster Pond watershed need to think about, how do you develop a consensus, or maybe it's 2 groups of, but somehow all of the affected properties are going to need to think seriously about, do they agree with this plan or not, because it gets entrained into the regulatory process, and it ultimately becomes a document that has to be executed. There's so many people that are only there for a short period of time. I mean, it's almost like it's a hotel, they're not part of the community, and yet clearly this decision will have financial impacts. So developing a consensus within that watershed is a challenge for all of you who live there. We had to do it for Little Pond, and it takes a while.
Any other comments or questions on this item? Thank you very much for coming.
Yes.
As I say, we had no revelations, but we're all learning and learning from you and learning from everybody else too. Okay, next item, Little Pond groundwater monitoring, question of reimbursing.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
While we're talking about the Oyster Pond, can we take the constant contact
Oh.
subscription?
Oh,
If
yeah.
you want to do that now?
Question
We could do
up.
that now. Or-
So moved.
It's another year, it's $20 a month. I would,
How much is it?
it's $20 a month.
Okay.
And I would ask if, what I would do is I would just do it as a credit card purchase to
Okay.
Constant Contact for the next year and then get reimbursed, Jerry, if that's okay with you?
Yep.
Okay, so it'd be, a couple
We need-
$100
we need a motion.
And
reimbursement.
you'd get it by January.
Probably,
We need a
if I
motion.
bug you.
Uh,
Thank you.
We need a motion for $120 in the source.
Okay.
Up to $200,
I'll make
please.
the motion for discussion.
The source,
Oh,
The Oyster Pond, though.
the Oyster Pond?
it would be the
Yeah.
Oyster Pond study,
Okay, good.
absolutely.
Okay, Ron.
And I just had a quick question. Are we getting feedback through that now?
We do.
Is that- There has been?
How
Okay.
many
What it's-
members are on it?
70. There are 70 people in that watershed, I believe in that watershed, that get the information. What it's really good for is announcements, or if we have information, to blast the interested
We
folks.
promised not to spam anyone, and we absolutely haven't. In
We
fact,
haven't.
As you know, we decided not to do for today, but when we did it on this other meeting, it worked very well.
Okay.
Good.
It's been moved and seconded to appropriate $120 from the fund that's available for the CWMP in Oyster Pond. Discussion?
I'm sorry, it might be more than 120, it's $20,
Up to 200.
so it's $20 a month for a year, so that,
$240?
yes,
Oh,
sorry.
$240. You want to change your motion?
Except,
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You guys have it? We'll do
in
it.
fact, I recommend that you consider it for other parts of the town, but
Okay. So you're walking out of here with $240? And,
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now, item
Thanks.
number 2, the Little Pond groundwater monitoring. We heard what the program entailed last time when Ken was here. We've read in the Enterprise what the program entailed. The program entails expenditures of $2,040. Is there a motion to do something about that?
I'll move approval, and it would come from the baseline monitoring bucket.
Okay.
Second?
Moved and seconded to appropriate, or I guess we recommended the selectmen
Right.
to appropriate to $2,040.
Or,
Is that within our scope? I think it's within your budget, and it's eligible.
Yeah.
I
I
think
think
you
we
just
can-
submit the bill,
Can we do
submit
it?
the bill.
Okay.
because it's part of the monitoring program. It's
Yep.
part of the general concept. They don't
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
take small bites of
If
apple.
that isn't
Right.
baseline monitoring, what is?
fine with me.
Right.
Motion
Vote.
motion for $2,040. All in favor? Oh, Ron?
No, I was going to, I thought you asked.
You were gonna be for it?
For it, yeah.
Well, okay, we got the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And I'll express the thanks of the committee and the town to Ken Foreman for taking on this project and pursuing it.
Yep.
And he had identified, I believe, a dozen locations and gotten permission from either the town or the abutter, the private abutter. He was able to install, I believe, 5 during the time that he had the manpower to do it. So I think he's looking for other students that he might be able to proceed to get all 12.
Item 6, update.
Oh, sorry.
That's a typo.
Presumed. The EPA grant for hydrogeological site characterizations. Virginia has been the lead carrier of this issue.
Well, everybody had received the document that we submitted, and we had 12 locations, although they're actually grouped. 1 and 2 is in the same location, 3, 4, and 5 are 3 abutting pieces at the East Falmouth School. So I'm just keeping the committee up to date. It was sent to EPA. We've had no written feedback. But they did send a team of people to look at the various sites last week. They went to all of the towns, and each town was allotted 2 hours for them to look. So they looked at what was our priority 1 site, which is at the corner of Shorewood and Route 28. They walked around both sides of the property and looked as to where drilling rigs could get in. And then they went over to the school and looked at the back of the East Falmouth School, which also abuts in part on Green Pond Road, and there's also a small road called Lorraine. So there was a drive-by of those areas. We have no idea what their timetable is as a result of this site visit, but I wanted the committee to know that it did occur.
Mr. Chair, I happened to be with Tom Cambereri today,
Okay.
and he indicated that by the end of September, they're expecting to have some indication of which sites they're going to choose. So
Oh,
hopefully
good
we'll
to
know by the end of the month.
Okay.
Do we know how many other communities have applied?
I believe there are 6. Because the slots were 2 hours in the morning or 2 hours in the afternoon over 3 days. I do know they were in Orleans, but and they were going to Barnstable after they left us.
And Dennis is another town.
And Dennis, so maybe.
Those are the only 4. I think there are 4.
Yarmouth and Chatham. Oh, you think there are 4?
I think there are 4.
Okay,
But
but I don't
Not sure.
actually know.
No, I think it's great. I just wondered, how come we weren't notified about this? I would have liked to have gone along on that, walk around. Is this something you just do it, it's like a private thing, you just went off and did it, or?
Well, it's basically their visit, or it's their, what would you call it, due diligence.
Right, right.
So they just asked for a town representative to be there. They did the looking and made notes. And, so it wasn't, I don't know. I just decided that it was simple, just to keep it simple. So they requested to come, and that's what they did.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure they weren't requesting the whole committee be invited, though I suppose we could have invited the whole committee. We did invite the whole committee to the West Falmouth.
To the vendors.
The vendors event, and 2 came.
3.
3, counting me, yes. Okay. But yeah, presumably if they winnow it down to us or us and one other, there'd be more site visits.
I suppose. At this point, I really think they're just sifting through technical
approved
criteria. And so, as I said, they're looking at to see, can I get a drilling rig in there? So that was my goal.
Is there, just on the same question of hydrology, it's a little bit off, but there's a follow-on study to the Acapesket well.
I was going to give that under reports.
Okay.
Okay? Yeah, I do have some information under reports.
Great.
Okay. Any comments or questions about the status of the EPA grant for hydrogeological site characterization?
No, that's it.
I just want to say, I think it's great that the effort's being made to pursue this. I think it's
Yeah.
really a good thing.
Well, it's a draft. We don't accept the draft. We accept the
We
final.
want to discuss Mashpee CWMP. The Mashpee CWMP was sent around to all the members
bring it
a few days, last week, I guess. It has been, I guess, accepted by the state. And actually, if you get into the details, it does seem to involve some participation by Falmouth in some things that we have not necessarily agreed
In
to
the base.
participate in. Well, yes, they would like to use the base's treatment plant, which will be interesting news to the base. So it's a plan with lots of hypothetical parts to it, but God bless them, they put something out.
So they're sending this into DEP for approval?
It's been
in.
in and approved.
And it's back with a MEPA certificate, 28 pages.
Okay.
But you're implying that there's something
CWMP has to be
Committing,
approved.
Falmouth is being committed to something without,
They have a number of things they wish Falmouth would do. One of which.
One of which we are doing.
One of which at least one of which we are doing, which is that Municus study, that Matt, I'm sorry, Matt's not here, because I'll bring everyone up to speed on that. We did get a draft of what we want to see done with that Mashpee and we both agreed on. We contacted the collaborative, and we're going to, Tom Fidella and myself are going to meet next week with the chairman of the collaborative to tell him why this is a project they should fund. Mashpee's quite enthused about it. In fact, in their report, they mentioned it several times. And of course, we are too. So we're going to find out soon enough whether that's something the collaborative can help pay for. The price tag has now gone down to about $43,000. And the collaborative does have that kind of money. So, and it is a regional shared watershed. So for all those reasons, we're hopeful that the collaborative will see fit to fund all of it or a part of it or something. But we're moving it along is the gist of the story here.
but there wasn't anything that they wished we would do that we don't want to do.
Oh, sure. There is.
Oh,
Do a CWMP out there,
Yeah, they have $34 million worth of stuff they'd like us to do.
but DEP knows that we're not committed to doing it.
Right.
The next step is they have to get their CWMP approved like we did for the things.
Through the DRI process?
Well, it's two separate. It's I forgot, if they have to get an approved CWMP. I think they already have an approved DRI, but I'm not following it. Our CWMP was a separate and distinct approval from the commissioner.
From the
of DEP.
commission?
From the
commissioner.
secretary.
No. The secretary approves the EIR. That gives the commissioner of DEP authority to say, okay, you met these things. Now you have to jump through our hoops. It's probably tantamount to them approving it, but, I don't know, I forget when we got our flow neutral bylaw in and a couple of other things. But they have to have an approved CWMP, and I forget where the DRI comes in now.
It was that letter we were waiting for that we needed when we submitted for the 0% loan.
That's right. That's
We
the-
had to have that letter.
A
That's right. And it's a
DEP
fairly
letter.
short letter, but
That's the hook DEP has.
DEP
Yeah, DEP
gets
has
two
that.
bites at the apple.
That's right.
So the next step is DEP approval, is that fair to say?
I think so.
But
I'm confused, I thought you said it.
they have quite a number
Was
of next
approved.
steps. I mean,
Yep.
They have to go approach the base and start talking about using their septic treatment plan. I mean, they have quite a long list of things that they would need to
And they have to get a lot of the stuff funded, I think.
pursue. Well, that's a funding, is another thing. The first thing they have to do is to decide in Mashpee who's in charge. They have it.
Thought they settled it.
They passed a special act which said one thing, and now the town fathers and town meeting apparently are contemplating another way of doing business, and they're gonna have an issue about that. So that, they have that kind of an issue to deal with before they really get too far along on anything substantive.
Well, what's interesting, I think, is that, several things that are interesting about their plan, I think, that are rather extraordinary. And the first one is the plan is, this is direct quotes from DEP's comment, is that the plan is predicated on the use of shellfish in the following areas. So the whole thing is they're going to go as far as they can with shellfish. And maybe other areas are going to need other systems, like their cluster systems there, or maybe even central sewering. But the main thing is, with estuaries, to start with shellfish and go as far as they can. And that and DEP was so impressed with this document that they actually have incorporated several other hurdles we had to jump in their approval, or their comment, let's put it that way. And it says that Mass DEP states that for the purposes for potential qualification for a zero-interest loan under the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, the final plan represents a comprehensive wastewater management plan. So they basically have been given a green light to get to apply.
I wouldn't say that.
0%.
Secretary doesn't have that authority.
No, this is DEP.
The secretary doesn't have that authority.
Okay, anyway, it said, just what I said here is what it says. If you disagree with DEP, that's okay. the wastewater superintendent disagrees with
DEP agrees with the town.
I will say, Mass DEP states, for the purposes for potential qualification for a zero-interest loan under the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, the final plan represents a comprehensive wastewater management plan. That's what it says. And that's what it says.
And that's a
So
letter
if it's
from,
all oysters, what's the
This
loan
is,
for?
this is, what?
If it's all oysters, what's the loan for?
Oh, they could pay for
Well, they
oysters.
can pay for oysters.
they're not
Whatever
oysters,
they're
it's
gonna do with it.
cohogs,
Co-
just to be
whatever.
clear. It's
Well, it's both.
cohogs.
It's a mix.
It's 27 million cohogs and 5 million oysters. It's a lot of
Well,
cohogs.
whatever it is,
Yeah.
it's shellfish is the point. So the interesting thing is that this is the opposite approach that we've taken, say with Little Pond. We didn't look at how far we could go first with the low-cost side. We've gone with the sewering option for 80% of the, 88% of the issue.
I don't actually think that's true at all. One of the foundations.
Oh, excuse me.
Go ahead, you finished, and I'm going to counterpoint.
I don't want to get into a big debate. What I'm just trying to say is that this, in a way, is good for us. Because this is a real kind of thing that, if it works out there, okay, but we should watch closely, is that as we move forward, and even with Squetique Harbor, I think about 2 acres of oysters might deal with Squetique, and 1 acre might deal with these names.
McGanson?
Rance
No,
Canal.
not Rance Canal, no, the other one that's next to it.
Fiddlers.
Not Fiddlers. Well, anyway. those
McGanson.
two.
Oysters everywhere.
No, but what I'm trying to say is that,
McGanson.
DEP has acknowledged this, and what they've done, though, and what's interesting is that they have allocated a 0.5 gram of nitrogen attenuation per oyster in the report. And
Mashpee did.
Yes, Mashpee has, and in this report it's been endorsed by the secretary, and 0.3 grams per cohog of a certain size. So that's like bottom planting type of operation. So it's a little different from what we're doing in Little Pond, but it is something that that shows that as we look at these other estuaries, they've created a gateway that we can really, look much more deeply, not to use a pun, into these water bodies and think about of moving in this direction. So I think that this is really, as the enterprise termed it in the Mashpee Enterprise, bold plan. Okay, so bold has got its side to it, but it is something where they've taken the courage and they've gone ahead and they seem to be getting a green to amber light. And it looks like this could be a major change for Falmouth as well as the rest of coastal Massachusetts. So I think that this is a really important thing to watch and discuss more. And I've been in touch with Rick York about this. So it's been something that he's come around to, and it's really good that he's taking the lead on it. He's the shellfish constable there. So anyway, it's McGanson Harbor, sorry, I was blocking McGanson, 1.2 for McGanson. So it is something that we could look at and see what happens. I mean, to see if that is a feasible option. I know too that the environment and marine services, or marine service environment department, are interested in continuing this whole oyster program. However it's done for
You're talking
planting.
about our department?
Our department,
Yeah, I think there's a plan.
yeah. As it goes, I think that they're convinced about the benefits of, at least to the shellfishing part of things in Falmouth. So it is something that might, that could be a good phase, that we may actually look at that option coming out of that and saying, okay, well, let's see what happens well, Squetique is actually in Bourne, right, more or less. So,
It is in Bourne.
It is in Bourne, so it is a different, but anyway, so I think that this is at least a major, a kind of a whole new phase of thinking about the challenges, and that it's something that kind of how they came up with the well, anyway, I would strongly recommend that you read the CWMP, or the final plan as they call it, and the secretary's certificate and the supporting documents. Because, you know, the DMF actually had questions about what are they going to do with all this shellfish? Well, I think
26 million cohorts, who's going to eat them?
basically, so it should work. Anyway, so I just, that's the, yeah, you know, I'm sure there's more coming on this that will, as they move forward. But there's a good table, ES1 shows in it, ES1, if you look at that, it's quite interesting because it has a nitrogen, for Shoestring Bay, they have a nitrogen removal thing of 4 tons target, and they expect like 2 tons to come from shellfish. And so it's...
2,000 kilograms.
Yeah, 2,000 kilograms.
Not ton. Well.
So nitrogen,
Yeah.
2 tons of
Kilograms.
nitrogen.
Okay.
Nitrogen, yeah.
Right.
2 tons.
Rick likes to work in tons.
Yeah, well, 2 tons is nitrogen. Kilograms, 2,000 kilograms.
Is 2 tons.
It's 2 tons, yeah.
2 metric tons,
Right,
sorry.
right, yeah,
Okay.
I just don't
Anyway.
think of it that way.
Yeah, but that's, yeah, okay. Well, anyway, I've worked in the metric world for so many years. It's actually many complex local current units as well. But anyway, so this is an interesting table because they really lay it out. And for many of the estuaries, they can take care of the entire nitrogen load with shellfish, 5 out of 8 that they studied. And so that is, according to the, theoretically, or what their plan is to check. So it's 5 out of 8. They hit 100%. And even for one, Mashpee River has 5 tons that needs to be attenuated of nitrogen, 5,000 kilograms. And the shellfish they expect to remove 2.5 tons, 2,500 kilograms, so half of it. So it is a big deal. And then sewering, I mean, obviously something else will have to happen if that's all they can, if that's what they do. But they also said in the report they think that might be a conservative estimate of what's possible. So we'll see.
I think it's important to recognize, I know you have strong beliefs, and we've exchanged emails. I talked to Tim, I talked to Fadala, I've talked to DEP. They need a CWMP, and this is as much for the TV audience, because you and I can disagree. DEP has not given them nitrogen credit. Tom has said they're not waiting to do sewers last, and I think it's your opinion that we should have waited on Oyster Pond.
Little Pond.
Little Pond, that it is clear that we went forward, and I think it's important not to, stir up the pond. Little Pond could not be solved by oysters.
Right.
It could be solved by sewers and oysters, and that is in the technical data that we have and is published. So it's important for the TV audience to know. CWMP has not been approved by the state. They have not given nitrogen credit, and according to the town, not me, they are planning to go ahead simultaneously with all these, which is, and I agree, it's very good. They have some great numbers, and hopefully we won't have to do another demonstration project for nitrogen reduction. But I could not get DEP to say, these are standard numbers. Could we stop our monitoring in Little Pond? They said no.
That's a good point. I think we need to continue the monitoring in Little Pond. But also, for our wastewater superintendent, I would like to reread this one sentence.
I know what it said. I
Please
talked
Mass
to DEP on it.
states-
I talked to DEP
This is
on
for
it.
the television audience,
Okay.
because Mass DEP states it's for the purposes for potential qualification of a zero-interest loan under the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust. The final plan represents a comprehensive wastewater management plan.
Not approvable.
Okay,
All right,
Wow.
Thank you.
I'll just throw
yeah. Right.
additional light maybe on this subject, which I think everyone in this committee is in support of what you're talking about in terms of shellfish being part of any solution anywhere. And this town has done an awful lot in the last few years with you and with the committee and with the department of pursuing that goal. So, shellfish has never been a stepchild in this town. What the Mashpee proposal has done, and it's interesting, is that they have put they place all their bets on shellfish. They think that a lot of an enormous amount of shellfish can do an enormous amount of good. What the report said and what has been approved is, yes, go ahead and try that. But if it doesn't work out, you have to spend $160 million on sewers.
Right.
That's what Mashpee agreed to. Falmouth didn't agree to any such thing. Falmouth, which is a town 2.5 times the size of Mashpee, with 2.5 times the resources. Falmouth didn't say, we're going to go out and do $160 million worth of sewers. Falmouth went out and said, we're going to do 40, and that's it. We're going to do everything else after that. So it's Mashpee it's bold in several respects. It's basically putting all your chips on shellfish, and if it doesn't work, they're going to have 10 sewer plants in the town of Mashpee, because their idea of sewering involves going out to the base, going out to the common, going out to every place where there's the high school, every place where there's an existing sewer plant, and beefing it up, adding to it, finding a discharge site for it, a cost of $160 million if the shellfish plan works. If the shellfish plan doesn't work, it's a cost of $250 million. These are enormous numbers for a town half the size, less than half the size of Falmouth.
Right.
So I don't, while I give them credit for being enthusiastic about shellfish, I also am glad that Falmouth took another course.
Right, well, Falmouth has a $600 million plan
No,
that
we
we're
do
trying
not.
to avert.
No, we
That
don't.
We're trying to avert.
A
It's like
plan that wasn't accepted isn't a plan.
No, I know, but they're basically, but it's sort of what would be required if the alternatives didn't prove out. But the idea here.
That hasn't been blessed by the town.
And we never put that in our
Well,
report.
you know,
So what I'm trying to say is that what they're doing is that regardless of what they envision and how to do it, the shellfish component can save them $140 million if it works.
yes.
And that is a big deal. Now, if they have to go and build this other stuff and whatever it is, at least they're not doing it for the $140 million worth of
Yep.
whatever. So I think that is the main dimension, and they are jumping in with both feet, so to speak. And it isn't just shellfish, Eric. They're also talking about, there's also this soft flushing solution they talk about, which is, I guess, with somebody like, what's his name? I'll think of it in a minute. Was talking about like running a pipe up and trying to pumping water from the sound and trying to flush out these things. I know it's complicated, but they're talking about that.
Well,
even
John
in their
Ramsey
plan.
mentioned that years ago and said that the Conservation Commission's never approved
Would
it.
never approve it, right?
He said
But
every
anyway.
engineer who listens to one of his talks thinks of it within 5 minutes.
Right, right.
And I was going,
I know. No, I think conservation, I agree.
Never gets
Conser-
approved.
It isn't a
Right.
done deal.
It's an
They're just-
idea that's
they're
dead on
exploring it.
arrival.
And it's
What I'm
interesting.
saying is that they've started with the shellfish thing. and-
Their idea on that point was to do it in Falmouth.
And Hyannis is also,
That was
Yeah,
one
we'll
of the
do
number
it.
of things they were putting on.
Hyannis also looked at reverse
Well, there you go,
flushing.
anyway.
Anybody can do it,
And
Eric.
you need a permit to do reverse
They
flushing.
opened things up, but I think the main thing is that we have it'll be good to watch,
Yep.
and that we do have, that the big thing is the paradigm shift in the state. Because they
Absolutely.
really are saying, okay, this looks like a way to start, okay, and then we'll see what you do with it. And I think that is.
You gotta watch calling it a paradigm shift, is basically what they've said is go ahead and try your shellfish, but if it doesn't work, your plan B is $160 million.
Yeah, well, that's
and-
like
and
ours.
they bought into a
Our
plan
plan B
B.
will be $600 million.
But no, we don't have
have
a
a
plan
We
B.
didn't submit that.
I know we
Okay.
do, right.
Big difference.
All right.
One quick
We
add.
wish Mashpee well.
Yes.
Yes, one quick add about Mashpee is that Rick York, who wrote this section, did a very thorough site analysis and carrying capacity analysis on Papaneset Bay and Mashpee River and Shoestring Bay. And over the years, because he's been there for years and he's a very smart scientist, knows that he's got suitable bottom and high salinity. So Rick says if you've got high salinity, over 25 parts per thousand, and suitable bottom, you put in cohogs. That's what you do. Little Pond has low salinity and 3 to 4 feet of anoxic muck, which I have walked. I know intimately, I have smelled it, I have seen it. We could not bottom plant anything in Little Pond, not just because it's closed, but because there is no bottom.
No
So
habitat.
this idea that Little Pond is, we somehow missed something by not putting shellfish in Little Pond as the solution, I don't think I don't think comparing what Mashpee did to Little Pond is an apples to apples comparison, because if we had had suitable bottom, we would have thought of it, but we don't. And Rick is not putting lots of oysters in places in the Mashpee River and in other places that don't have suitable bottom, that have anoxic, that have stratification, because he knows they won't live. So he's got the benefit of acres and acres and acres of suitable bottom. And I just want to point that out in the plan. And he goes very extensively in the recommended plan and goes through those criteria and the classification. The other thing he says is his 0.5 grams per oyster is for a 3.5-inch oyster. And he says that in his plan. So we are talking, when we in Falmouth do our numbers, we talk about a 3-inch oyster, which is what ours grow to in 2 years, which is lower, which is the 0.26 number. And just points of detail.
Let I just say one thing.
Oh, absolutely.
The one thing is, the reason we're doing floating bags in Little Pond is exactly that reason. So there's more than one way to skin an oyster, so to speak. But you have more. So we're using the floating bags because the bottom is not good. So that's the alternative. And instead of growing 3-inch, we grow 2-inch. But we may be able to grow so many more per unit area because they are smaller. So the thing is that these numbers we'll be seeking and finding out, but actually SIA's done a lot of work with getting the nitrogen content of the animals, at least at different sizes, and when you work with smaller ones, you can really pack them in a bag, and work with smaller. But anyway, this is all coming up, but I don't think there's more than one way to do it. It isn't like we're going to do bottom planting, but in some of these bays, we might be like West Falmouth Harbor, we're bottom planting, Quistit Harbor, Green Pond. So far, we've been doing it there,
And we're going to keep doing it.
And the quahogs are being bottom planted everywhere, not everywhere, but a lot of places.
I think we should thank Sia for helping. She went out on that anoxic condition.
We're going to do an update. I'll do an update.
Okay, but if it wasn't for her, we might have.
That's right, oh, yeah.
We might not have.
That's a story.
But
that's a story
I was
that
there
should be
too,
told.
Jerry.
Yes.
We were there together. We were all there.
I didn't know you were in the water.
Great.
Just
He was not in the water.
one other question having to do with Rick York and his careful plan. You pointed out that his oysters are 3.5 inches. That's when he measures how much nitrogen it is. How about the quahogs? What size are they?
A little neck size, so 1 inch thick.
1 inch thick. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Where are we?
Let's skip over the minutes and move on to reports of members and staff. I sent out 2 late received emails that I got yesterday and sent them out this morning. One was a letter from the regional EPA asking us to send a letter, or me to send a letter, or somebody to send a letter to the head EPA person in Washington, urging them to come down here for
Septic Smart Week.
Septic Smart Week. Anyway, the letter needs to go out today. I know it wasn't on the agenda, but unless I hear some vigorous objection, I think
Sentiment of the committee, is that what you're?
well, yeah, that's a dangerous direction to go. But
Sorry.
is there anyone who objects to sending a letter inviting the head of the EPA to come down and see what we're doing? Okay, we'll assume that's an assent. The other thing that went out was a grant opportunity that has to be in by September 15th, at least the pre-app. And we took a quick look at it, and it seemed like Oyster Reef was the most likely thing. It had to be in Buzzards Bay, and it had to involve a number of criteria, which you all saw, because if you saw it when we sent it out today. But Oyster Reef's kind of jumped out as the most likely prospect.
So this is a pre-application, so it's like a 2-pager that says this is what we would like to do.
Right.
What's the granting agent?
EPA.
Okay.
It's Buzzards Bay National Estuaries Project, the same organization that gave us the West Falmouth Harbor grant, the shoreline septic
So
grant.
we have to come up with a co-share.
25%
There's a
$900,000 limit, but we could probably spend that.
We wouldn't, it's $200,000 maximum per grant application, and there's a 25% cost share. But we'd use staff and staff.
Can we take advantage of our pilot reef project in West Falmouth Harbor and
Right, well, that,
Mashapaquet Creek.
That was her.
that's what I was going to say. Can I give the staff update on that and
Yeah.
sort of see how this segues? So last year, there was a viability study done. It worked. This year, we planted 500 bags of oysters, and I did a population count, and it's
Where?
at Mashapaquet Creek on the harbor side of the bridge. So if you go over Nashawena Bridge on Nashawena Street, you used to see a bunch of floating bags. Now you see fewer floating bags. And we bottom planted, and I actually snorkeled yesterday at low tide to see how the reef that we bottom planted was doing, and it was amazing. In the bags, there are eels, there are shrimp, there is crabs, and there are oysters growing in the bag. So we've created this bag habitat. But then when you snorkel at the bottom, there are crabs around, and I didn't see the eel, but I felt it. And there's just stuff happening around this reef. And it hasn't silted over, and it's actually growing, thank goodness. And so over next week, we're going to bottom plant the rest of this. It's called Spat on Shell. It's the remote set. We grew it in bags to get it up to be about an inch, inch and a half, kind of jump-start it. And there's some sandy bottom, so we're putting the rest of it. So the idea with this grant is that I've got pictures, I've got documentation. Woods Hole Oceanographic is doing some water quality analysis as part of it. We've also applied to the Nature Conservancy for the Bouchard oil spill money to do some work also on this reef, but it sort of seems like the belt and suspenders approach to ask for money to maybe grow 1,000 bags next year, and it would include staff and oysters. We've got the bags, so we need just people, because it's very labor intensive, and so we want to have two good people to manage that project and flip bags every week and clean stuff out and then bottom plant it and monitor it. So that would be sort of the grant would fund a person, and then maybe 1,000 bags of remote set that would get deployed the same way this one, and just expand the reef and kind of get to an acre where maybe we've got 1 million or 2 million oysters growing as like a filter right there coming down from Mashapaquet Creek. And
Right near the
this is-
Sentinel Station.
right near the Sentinel Station. And the other nice thing about this area is that it's closed to shellfishing. So it can be a sanctuary. So it's closed, it is not a conditionally open area. It's not an area.
It's permanently closed.
Right, so if we established a reef and we start having a lot, we could imagine clearing some out, but it would really be the filtering value of these oysters that we're looking for. And if we needed to clear them out because DEP wanted us to get the TMDL by removing them, we can do that, but it would be already established. I mean, we've got a few years to establish a reef before we'd be thinking about them growing to the right size that we needed to remove them. But people aren't going to be harvesting them. It would be a town.
As a reef is going to far exceed our removing. If
Yeah.
we can get a permanent reef established,
Absolutely.
Right.
It's working. So far, so good. Knock on wood.
I think we should go for it. I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, I do too.
I
Good.
think we also have to start pushing the town, Marine Environmental Services, to have full-time staff. Because there's only so much staff can do, and I think we're approaching things where selectmen need to be briefed, and you have to say, we want to put, MES may say, we need 2 full-time positions if we want to, and it should be up to them.
Yep, and they're doing that, actually.
Good.
They have met with the town manager.
Oh, good, all right.
To add staff and looking at fiscal 2017 budget to actually beef up their propagation staff so
Oh,
they can
great.
start, not just keep Little Pond going,
No,
because they
no,
would
no.
like to, but also start looking at other estuaries.
Yeah.
So-
They understand that this committee is basically handing this off. We can't be doing this.
Yeah, you can't do it from grants.
No, and we can't do it year by year, and,
Right.
I mean, we're a demonstration project, we're not implementation forever project. But they have stepped up to the plate and they want to do it, so that's terrific.
And we want to support them getting funded because it is part of our 2019
Right.
CWMP to have shellfish, and as Ron pointed out, as a major, as much as we can do shellfish
Yes.
to do it, and that does require this kind of effort that they're doing now. And next year they want to look at Bourne's Pond. We're now looking at West Falmouth. We'll look at Great Pond. It's all sort of happening.
So do we need to present this to the selectmen to be able to apply
Well,
for
this
this
is,
grant?
that, the emphasis was on pre-application.
This is a pre-proposal.
So if we pass through their filter and they say, yeah, you know, send us a real application, then we would have to do the finance committee and the selectmen.
Right.
And that's what we did for the West Falmouth. We wrote a pre-proposal. When they asked us for a proposal, we first went to the finance committee and then the selectmen before we submitted.
But I think you'll have enough time to do that, to get all those approvals and write the final application.
Well, the
Finally.
pre-application is due in September 15th.
Friday.
When is the
Final.
application?
Months later.
Yeah, they didn't
A month
even have
later.
date.
But you need approval from
No,
the
it's the length
selectmen.
of time from when you hear that you passed the pre-application.
Yes.
We did it last
Until the final
time.
application is due.
Okay.
You have to get all the
We
approvals
did,
and
we
write
didn't
the
ask
final
them about
I
a
think we could do it.
pre-proposal.
Yeah.
When they asked us to do a full proposal, then we asked the
Okay.
selectmen if we could.
Yeah, at this point, we're not committing manpower or money or anything. We're just.
I just lost track.
No, it's a fair question. I asked the same thing.
Yeah, I just looked at the last way we did it.
I just wonder, I know that in Wellfleet they've been doing this estuary thing, and I'm just wondering, has the DMF? Oh,
Hey, Tom.
Has the DMF? How are you? Has the DMF, do you know if the DMF has said, okay, you can close this off forever?
They have not gotten their sanctuaries approved. I was with Anna Maria this morning, actually. We hung out, talking about stuff working. They have not, but the likelihood is that they will probably get some sanctuaries. I mean, it's likely that they will. It hasn't officially happened yet. But she's very optimistic.
Yeah, she is though.
Yes, she is.
That's-
Got a Greek and a Croatian in the room, you're not gonna stop anybody.
But I think that's, there could be, our shellfishing community here may have a comment on.
But this isn't that for any other reason than it's permanently closed. It's an area that is permanently closed, has been for years for other reasons.
I see, thank you.
So it's not like we're closing an area that was open. So that's why this is really, the constellation of factors make this an ideal site.
Perfect.
The other reason being nitrogen from the plant, I expect.
Yeah.
That's why.
Right.
So the sense of the committee is
All
submit
right,
the
I get
pre-application.
I get to work over Labor Day weekend, excellent.
Right.
Any other reports of members and staff?
I have two things.
Go ahead.
I just started to, I thought this might be an interesting, I just did an exercise, and you can have a look at this, this is just information. But I started, you can pass this around, unfortunately my printer was running out of ink.
Let's see.
So, just as I left. But I did kind of try to get a sense of what the Little Pond project cost is. And in terms of what the homeowners are facing and what everybody's facing in it. And if you look at this, it is, in looking at it, I kind of broke it down between the town's portion and then the property owner's portion, and then kind of did an average. And when you start adding up some of the things beyond the collection system, turns out to be about half the cost of what it takes to implement and run for 30 years, basically. And so, and some of these things are going to be more immediate for people. And I also did a per property owner cost estimate and came up with something. But I just think it would be good for us to keep track of this so we have a sense of as we move forward in town, whatever these costs, because they will become more and more firm as we move on. But I just sort of put a bunch of things together here. And I can explain some of them. The hookup cost is, I use the $7,000 figure because I'm getting approached by people in the Little Pond area who are saying that they're getting figures for the simplest connection in gravity of $5,700 to up to $12,000 for the grinder pump application without the pump. The pump is additional, but that's it. So it was in that, and that might be a very complicated one compared to others. So I just sort of picked a figure then, and then I did some, people couldn't afford it if they borrowed money from the county, what that cost would be. But just sort of went through each, and then looking at the notion of a generator for just the grinder pumps for if there's an extended power outage, depending on who, or unless the town takes that over or whatever. But it's just sort of what we know at this moment, and we can play with this or ignore it for a while and just see as more numbers start coming in. But it was it was interesting to see that it was, almost $62 million particularly with the, and the, you know, and 45, 46 millions on the property owners in terms of operating and everything.
Everybody has to buy a generator?
No.
Well,
No.
yes, I would take issue with that.
No.
It just doesn't seem really cost-effective for everybody to buy a generator.
Doesn't,
I-
yeah, but.
I
Yeah.
honestly think it doesn't happen very often, and that is something the town should consider, that if there is an emergency, they are equipped to go and jumpstart and these.
Yeah.
If there was one area where I think the town should think about extending itself, to me, that's it.
Yeah, well, I was thinking of the, you know, because I have a generator at home, but it's a manual one, it's not an automatic
Yeah.
one. Those are really
Right.
expensive, but it's a manual one. And, you know, I think about February storms and just trying to get the thing to start.
Sure.
You know,
Well-
Yeah, but if you do
when it's
put a
covered with
generator in,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you do put a generator in, then you should subtract the other value of it to the homeowner. A lot of people without a sewer system are gonna buy a
No,
generator
this
for
is just to plug into, the
Yeah.
generator is not something you can just
Right.
use easily. This is because there's the pigtail on the grinder pump thing that you
No,
can
it's
plug
a,
into.
it's a receptacle. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
plug it in.
Yeah.
I don't think you can buy one for $500, but I mean, if that's your number, fine. I haven't seen one for $500 other than a small Honda that might last an hour and a half. All you need is 5 minutes. And I, also,
What do
if you have
think it should-
people,
What figure would you use?
for generator,
Yeah.
it depends. I've got quotes in my house from
No, no,
5,000. I wouldn't put a generator figure in. I think it's misleading to put a low one. And I think, please have people call me up, because I've asked plumbers. And they say they're not giving out numbers. And then when I ask the people, maybe the same people, who'd you talk to? They say, oh, I forgot. And then I start tracking some of these numbers down. I think there are some people that are pulling numbers out of thin air. We talked to the plumbers this morning. They have no idea how to cost this out because we don't have the information. So this is fine, it's your product, but to say that it's this committee's product, there is a
No,
lot.
no one is
It's
saying
just a
that.
worksheet, I'm just saying that.
But the
just-
numbers have a tendency to show up at town meeting.
Well, he can do what he wants with his
Yeah.
You
numbers.
can do what you want with them, but if you think it's 5,000 for a generator, I'll change it to that.
Well, I think the idea of everyone having a generator is a lunacy.
Yes, everybody having a generator. I
Well,
think
it
is
depends, it just, we don't know. We don't
Another
know.
point that you might want to think about is, in your letter to me last week, you said that it appears that the hookup cost could be as high or even exceed the betterment. Well, that's $16,000. And on this sheet, you got it down for 7. So these are very odd numbers. So one of them can't be right, and probably both of them can't be right.
Right.
And no
16
contractor has
you're putting out-
validated those
If
numbers.
you're
So
putting out a
please
number
have
like
them call me up.
16,000,
Oh, no, I'm
you're
just-
making it up out of your behind.
No, what they're saying is that, what Eric, just to be clear, as I said, it's like 12,000 for the hookup, and then another 5,000 it doesn't cost the homeowner that, but the total cost.
You said 7,000 for the hookup.
Please, have
That's
them,
the average. No, I know,
have those
wait,
people call me
wait,
up.
No, just a minute, Jerry.
Well, no,
please.
wait a minute, because this,
I know.
I had
I
someone
know.
say $15,000 for landscaping.
Look.
I talked to 3 landscapers, and they laughed at that number.
Okay.
The person was looking for something else.
Well-
Please share with me at least, it can be confidential, the person and the contractor.
Okay,
Because it's like trying to add gasoline to a fire.
right.
It's like me
Which
saying the
is-
shellfish are
which is-
toxic.
probably the intent.
Let me just, Eric, what I meant was that if it was, one person gave me a figure of 12,000 without the grinder pump system. So that's another 500, so that's sort of 5,000, so that brings it up to roughly the betterment. So that's what they were talking about.
It seems
Yeah.
hard to believe.
I haven't heard anybody talk about
I'm
12,000.
just telling you what I'm hearing.
Oh,
on
I've
the
heard
street.
some people,
That's
and
what
I've heard,
it's like.
and I asked them to validate it, and they
Okay.
can't.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So,
Okay.
okay,
All
we
right.
get
I
to
just have one more
It's
point.
probably worth mentioning too, this committee is not in charge of anything to do with this anymore.
No,
We provided the town with what information the selectmen asked us for, but we're not doing this.
as we move forward, though, we're going to have to be considering the
Right.
implications. Right? I just have one other point. It's a legal matter that affects all of us, perhaps. Well, maybe it isn't a legal matter. I had sent a note. About 4 years ago, I started a discussion with Amy Lowell about septic pump out. And she said that compared to sewage, it was a tougher nut to crack. So finally it occurred to me, well, what did she mean by that? So I called her up and had a chat with her and for about 5 minutes. And she sort of explained that it had to do with the fraction of refractory nitrogen and a bunch of other things, and that it was old nitrogen, which made it more difficult to break down, which means it's possibly a high fraction of refractory nitrogen. So in response to that, and this is just a personal discussion with her, and I got a note from the wastewater superintendent who said that I shouldn't be talking to anybody.
We'll put it in context.
Oh, no, hold on, we're not having this conversation.
Well, he should.
No, I'm going to finish it right now.
It's sent to him
No.
for implying I did something wrong.
No,
I'm insisting that you can't censor me and not him.
We're going to censor both of you.
I'll accept that.
But I have
I'll accept that.
I got a legal opinion from,
We're not interested in your legal opinion right
from Frank
now.
Duffy,
You're off.
town council. If you don't want to
You're
hear
not
it.
being recognized.
Okay.
You sent me that, I recognize what you sent me. It's not on the agenda, and you of all people should know that if it's not on the agenda and sent around to the members 48 hours in
No,
advance, we're not talking about it.
This
Understood?
sounds, this is a personal argument.
That's right.
It has no place at this meeting,
You're right.
okay?
Any other
You need to
reports of
deal with
members
it.
and staff?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so you asked about Acapesca.
Yes.
Okay, and so we're calling this phase 2. You remember we did install some wells and we went through the report and everything, and that was approved in the spring. And based on that, it looked like we would have more potential for nitrogen flow and a potential place to install possibly a PRB farther north on the Acapesca Peninsula. So this past week, we had a meeting with GHD, the contractor, Jim Begley, Jerry, the subcommittee, which is Steve and John, to look at what additional wells need to be put in. And the answer is 3. And they are shown in roughly, and I only have one of these, and you guys have seen that, so I'm sort of showing this to Ron. So roughly positioned, there are 3 sites, 2 sort of on East Falmouth in the corner with Shorewood, and 1 in the midst of the property that will give us the additional characterization we need for the groundwater. The groundwater appears to be moving that way, but it then begins to hook more to the west, and we need to define where that hook occurs. This is within the original scope of work. We have, Jim Begley has looked at these sites, and it is possible to get drill rigs into them with a little brush cutting, and I'm handling that to get that cleared out. And we also have an additional kind of win-win situation that the U.S. Geological Survey is interested for its own research reasons in doing a multi-level well. It would be a well that would have a screen every 4 feet. And so the idea was we would drill the hole, but they would actually install their well and they would monitor it. So they have a choice of 3. And I don't know yet at this point which one it will be, but that is very good news for the town because it gives you much better information as it is in terms of exactly where the concentrations of nitrate are. The original set of wells that went in, the one that was multi-level is this one that's number 9, that's down on Shorewood. And that one has 4 screens, went down to a total of about 70 feet. And so it showed some nitrogen more or less at the water table, an increased level to about 8 milligrams per liter, 20 feet below that, and then a drop off below, and then less than 1 milligram per liter when you got to the bottom of the hole, the bottom of the well, at about 70 feet below ground surface. So we have just one sample from one spot, and putting additional wells in that would give us multi-sample, multi-levels, would vastly increase our information. The likely time for this installation is probably going to be the end of September or maybe the beginning of October.
great. Having them involved is great.
Now, if you want to see it when it's installed, you know,
Well, that's okay. Just one question. Ken Foreman's work complements this, doesn't it, in some ways?
this is Great Pond. Ken Foreman's work is on Little Pond.
Right.
So I think Ken Foreman's work, we're just so lucky to have that being done because it's been talked about, but no one was able to execute it. But it is a different watershed. So I think I wouldn't agree with your statement, but I'm very much in favor of what he's doing.
And Virginia, you missed the fact that Tom Camberry was also.
Sorry, that's right. Cape Cod Commission, because ultimately this is a grant through the collaborative, was also present. Yeah, and he's happy with this plan.
Any other questions on that? Report of any other members or staff?
I've got a couple of things.
Sure.
The first is on the McGansett MEP report. The state is going to incorporate I received some comments. The state's going to incorporate them into their report, into the DEP report, and then SMAST is going to provide a letter response. Is that correct?
Yes, unless there's a fatal flaw. The report we got is the report it is, but they will respond to the comments in a response to comments. If there's a fatal flaw, then obviously they'll go back and do it. So the draft report has actually been submitted as a final report, but I can't pay it until you guys accept it. And without the response to comments, it's an incomplete final report.
So we're waiting for this response.
Right, no problem.
Well, I'm waiting to see what they send SMAS. It was supposed to send.
Yeah, we're waiting for their
Well,
response to our comments, I guess. Is that
Right.
We're waiting for DEP to send comments.
all right, so
Yeah.
we're waiting for DEP comments
Okay.
on our comments, and then we'll vote on it at some later meeting.
We can wait.
And then last but not least, the update on Little Pond.
Yes.
Oh.
Quite
Our
a
hero.
week.
Yeah.
Quite a week. Well, hindsight is always 20/20, and what we were confronted with is anoxic events at the surface. So dissolved oxygen, 0% for days. And I sent, yesterday we got the SON data. I mean, it's nice that we have a SON there. And the first thing I want to do is I really want to thank SMAST publicly, because we saw, Chuck had seen fish kills at the great, what is that road? Grand Ave, where that little beach is and the condos, the day before. And he emailed me at like 6 or 7 at night, and I said, I bet you something's going to happen. And then the next day, the two workers in Little Pond also saw shrimp and fish coming to the surface, and crabs were dead all over the place. And so I ran around trying to get the wet chemistry to do dissolved oxygen measurements, and called Dave Schlesinger, who's with SMAS, and by the end of the day he was there, of that same day, with a handheld dissolved oxygen meter. And we spent hours going upstream, in-stream, and downstream to try to understand, was this localized to the oysters, or was it a full-scale water event? Was it the entire pond? And the answer is it was the entire pond. There was not zero around the oysters and some higher concentration above and below. It was zero everywhere until you get past the headland, right about where we have our emergency grow-out area. Now, we had set that up for a low salinity event, thinking if something happens and it rains and rains and rains, but we started looking, and this was Thursday. So Thursday, we thought, well, maybe this is a one-day event, and the oysters have made it, so why bother moving them? But then at 8 o'clock the next morning, Dave and I went back to the site, and it was just as bad, and it was, according to him, looking like it was going to be a persistent event over the course of at least a week. And I called the 3 hatcheries that we got the seed from. I talked to Rick York extensively, and I called 2 private growers that I know from work in different areas, and I called Anna Maria Frankic, and all of them said, move the oysters right now, as soon as possible. I mean, to them there was a real sense of urgency. Now, I had seen a paper that was from the Biological Bulletin that it said in a lab experiment, oysters were able to survive these anoxic events, at least at the larval stage. I knew they were bigger, but Chuck really felt that we have 2 million oysters and didn't want to risk losing all of them. Ron was there on Thursday and thought initially we should just leave them all, and if they all die, they all die. But then we realized, well, maybe we want to keep an experiment going. So where the SMAST is doing some additional studies, there were 2 rafts that we decided to leave in place, and if those died, well, they died. And we would actually get to see what happens with a prolonged anoxic event of oysters, and I got the sizes. They're about an inch, inch and a quarter, those oysters. So the good news is we moved the oysters. And the better news is the ones that we left in place didn't die either. So and I also talked to Virginia. You know, it was a decision-making process. I didn't feel comfortable making it by myself. I tried to consult experts. We wanted to minimize risk because we want to have oysters to bottom plant, because now we've got commercial shellfishers who are looking forward to next year's crop, and they're starting to build their businesses, their livelihood on having these oysters. So it was a great day and a great moonlit night, Friday night, where we finished, the staff was able to move about 13 strings. And there are 30 strings out there. And I just didn't feel comfortable on Friday night letting them go another night, knowing that we really thought they might die. So we deployed science wares and we went out there and moved the rest of the strings. And we got them down there. And we found, and I found that it's much easier to just walk them down. It's shallow enough and mucky enough, and you have a little kayak next to you, and you can act like an oyster. I call it the oyster yoke. We were the oyster oxen, and you just march them down. And my husband did about 13 bags, and I did about 3. but we got them down there, and they're fine. And that other growing location, the serendipitous nice thing, is the people who are who now have these bags in front of them love them.
Oh.
They're thrilled. It's Brockton Street. There's a resident right on the corner, and then another resident upstream.
Stay there.
We're not moving them back, let me just tell you. And because we're getting ready they're getting to be harvest size. So at the end of October, they're going to stay there till the end of October, and then we're going to relay them from that location. So it also has enabled us to sort of spread the story of the oysters to another part of the pond. But there was a significant difference in the water quality after that headland, you know, where the pond is on that side, than the rest of the pond. It was sulfitic.
Any idea what precipitated this?
I talked to Ken Foreman about this because we were trying to get to the bottom of that. And typically you have overcast mornings, so you don't have the photosynthesis. But in this case, there are so much particulate in the water that his hypothesis is the particulate is suppressing photosynthetic activity, so you don't get a lot of oxygen during the day, and then it all just gets chewed up more and more and more at night. These events, it was staying anoxic, 0 milligrams per liter at the surface until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So the sun was bright and shining, and there was no photosynthesis, and the winds were very light and north. And so there was not surficial, you know, when you get waves, you get obviously oxygenation, and the waters to the north of where the oysters is much worse than the waters to the south. So when the southwest wind comes in, you're getting that better water coming over the oysters, and in this case, we're getting worse water. So constellation of factors. But
And it's because the estuaries are so shallow. They're shallow enough that a southwest wind actually moves and
at least that surface layer. Yeah, absolutely.
It keeps it well mixed. And when the wind comes out of the north, we all think it's wonderful because it's drier. But these are in the lee of that because of that headland, and so the water becomes very still. And I agree, there's so much particulate matter. As well.
Just as a point on this, I think, you know, when it comes to this particular species, we all remember the Brer Rabbit story, right? Don't throw me in that briar patch. And I think that these oysters, through evolution, have come to be able, because they live intertidally, and they'll be in the baking sun, no water, cooking out there with nothing, you know, basically. So they are not able to respire. Another thing that happened, and actually I shared an abstract, but I published a paper a couple of lifetimes ago on this phenomenon, and there could be a possibility that what I was seeing in ponds, and it may be similar to this, it was a very different, it was an open pond, but it wasn't an estuary, it was a freshwater pond. but that you get these things, you don't even see it. When you look at the water, it looks the same, at least for my eye, is that you get these overshoots and collapse of phytoplankton. And when that happens, they aggregate and settle. Now, I just wondered in this case, in part, was that once that happens, the water gets very clear. It looks the same, but it gets very clear. Well, then the sunlight was able to penetrate these relatively shallow estuaries, warm up the bottom, and then you got an inversion by that warm water rising to the surface and bringing up all that stuff like they do in those big reservoirs and stuff. I don't know, a lot of factors. It could just be the wind blowing the stuff down, like Zia said.
But if it was that, when we get the bottom zone data, which we'll get, next month, maybe we'll be able to tease out some of that. That would be very interesting.
I've never seen little pond water like that. The day we were concerned, on Thursday, I went and I saw it. I thought they could have been little tiny lobsters swimming around. These little, they could be shrimp. I'd never seen anything like this. The water was clear. The oxygen was, at that time, happened to be at 17 or whatever it was, 13, 17. It was high, but it had followed this event. And I went back on Monday, I think, Monday, and I just had a look, and it was black. I mean, it was like, you couldn't see. I'd never seen it. It was just opaque.
Yeah, and it was.
But the thing is that the SON data says the water was better on Monday.
But it was still bad. I mean, it wasn't good. It was just better than horrible.
Right. But I was like, I thought, oh, this is like. But as I say, it could be that this species really is the Brer Rabbit story. I mean,
Yeah.
they're
hardy, and that was a great lesson to learn. It wasn't a lesson we wanted to risk all our chips on, to be honest with you.
Right.
But it's good that
we learned a lot.
we definitely learned.
Steve, I think it's wonderful that you did that. I don't think there are any disadvantages. But the fact that you said it was a difficult decision implies you thought there might be some disadvantage to moving them, like, hear the whole thing here, like it might interfere with the scientific validity. But I think this is part of it. I mean, if it's real oyster farming. And if we're going forward and making claims that this is a business with no cost to the town, it's what a real oyster person would and should do there. And whether or not that cures the nitrogen, that's part of reality.
It was difficult because I knew how much work was involved. It was a ton.
Yes.
Bill us.
I'll keep it in my 15 hours a week. How about that? No, I'm serious. It's in my 15 hours a week.
Maybe more.
Anyway,
Well,
also I'm on 24-hour call,
Really?
24/7 if there's a need for anything. So
I should have called you Friday night, but it would have messed up my date night, you know. And the moon was full. It was shining.
I want to get out there.
Up to knees in muck.
Up to, well, I was up to here in muck, actually.
She's not that tall.
Actually,
Good thing I had a 6'2" husband.
Really. Any other reports of members and staff? Nothing this exciting, I don't expect, but thank you for doing it, obviously, the whole
thank you,
job.
Steve.
Happy to do it.
Really?
Happy to do it. And I was glad Ron came and was part of that advisory panel of decision-making.
Should we
pushing it in all directions.
Right.
Right.
I thought it was, in the end, we agreed.
Last item, review and vote in the minutes of the prior meeting. Minutes went out. Everybody's seen them. I didn't get any feedback back. Does anybody have any additions or corrections to the minutes that went out?
John was there. He was not in the original minutes that I sent out, but I
Yes,
corrected
that's
that John Waterbury was
Oh, okay.
present and accounted for
All
at
right.
those
So
meetings, so that's been added.
motion
I move the minutes of July 29th.
Moved and seconded.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion to adjourn, Matt isn't here.
So was Matt?
So
I seconded.
Made and seconded to adjourn, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.